I want to show you a story of a young man who was sitting here 2 years ago. Not here, I was at GCT. It was an Easter service. He was sitting here. He didn't want to be here. He came here because he was supposed to. He came here because he was drugged here. And he'll share that with you here in just a second. But I want you to hear his story and what Jesus did in his life 2 years ago on Easter Sunday. You guys hear Alex's story.
My name is Alex Peggy. I'm 27 years old and have a wife, Emily, and a daughter named Victoria. I grew up, born and raised in Paragould, Arkansas on a farm. I worked on the farm for 14 years, and it's a big part of my life. I've been raised in a Catholic church. I went to Catholic school until I was in the 7th grade. So God was a big part of my life. While we were at the Catholic school, we went to church twice during the weekday, and then of course had services on Sunday. When my parents got divorced, nobody wanted to go to church anymore. And so that, I didn't want to go back. And it's hard for me to talk about, but I wanted to go with my family. But nobody cared about going anymore. For a long time, I just tried to avoid it, honestly. I'd think about it, and then I'd think about, well, what's it gonna be like? What's everyone gonna talk about? What are they gonna say when I'm not there with my parents? And nobody would have said anything. It was just something I had in my mind and that I couldn't get over. I met Emily when I was a senior in high school. So she is actually my high school sweetheart. We dated for a long time. So we got married. A year or so later, we had our little girl Victoria. And a little bit before we got pregnant with her, it started to be where I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. I prioritized work over everything. Every single thing in my life revolved around farming. Going to church, going to events. I would use farming to get out of going to stuff that I didn't want to. Me and Emily started going to some churches. Of course, I was not very interested. She was going around, we tried a few out. And I was pretty much the same way about all of them, including Central when we started there. So my wife was I believe she came to the very first service. And for a long time, I never went. Finally, one Sunday during duck season, I didn't have any hunters, and I didn't have any excuse not to go, so she had me. I went, and everyone could tell I didn't want to be there. I mean, it was obvious. I may have told people that I didn't want to be there. Talked to Blake afterward, and my wife made me. That's pretty much where I was at with it. I didn't want to be there. I was there so that I could leave and tell my wife that yes, I went. One of the times that I went, Blake stopped me, and he said, "Hey," he said, "I want to get lunch with you." He made himself available to me, and it didn't work out a couple times, and he just kept trying. And finally he got me in there, and we sat and talked, and that's when I decided, hey, there might be something to this church, In one of those conversations with Blake, we got to talking about the difference between having a relationship with God and knowing Him and knowing about Him. Because having a relationship with God wasn't what I had going on. I knew about God. He was a part of my life, but I never had a relationship with Him. And so I came forward at invitation on April 20th, 2019, on Easter, and decided that it was time to change. I didn't plan on it. It was one of those things that I was just going to an Easter service, you know. I was happy to be there. I was happy to be back in the church. It was a normal day for me. During church, God spoke to me. And he said, hey, if you're going to do this, you need to do it. So, on April 20th, 2019, I came forward and made a decision to make my life right with Jesus and give it up to the Lord. And that's the day I got baptized. My life has changed a lot after I got baptized. The stress of the world and the stress of life, that hasn't changed. It's still there. I just have more of a peace and knowing that God's gonna provide. Not necessarily that you don't have any worries, but you feel confident in the fact knowing that He's got you. Since I've brought God back into my life, my relationship with my family is awesome. I mean, it really is. I'm happy. I really am. So to the person who was me, who's been thinking about giving your life to God but's been on the fence, I want you to know that it doesn't matter what your friends think. It doesn't matter what people are going to think of you. If God's working in your life, then you need to answer that call. And once you do, you'll just be surprised how much joy you can have in your life.
Yeah, hey, we can clap for that and celebrate that. What I love about Alex's story is he's here right now. He's serving right now on our safety team. He's not just some poster boy we can put up there and say, oh, look, he got converted, and now let's tell you a story, and he kind of fell off after that. But we want to tell you a story. No, he's here. He's loving his wife. He's serving his church. And that's what we want for all of you, any of you. If you're here this morning, and it's just me and you talking, me and you and Jesus, and you know that if today was your last day, you wouldn't be with Christ in heaven. You know that you're lost. You know that Jesus is not in your life, but you want to. I'm not talking about joining a church. I'm not talking about you having spent your life sitting in a pew. I'm talking about you and Jesus right here, right now. And if you and I are sitting down, and you would say to me, Blake, I want to give my life to Jesus. I want to be forgiven for my sin. I want to have eternal life with Him. I want to have that joy that Alex talked about. I want to have the peace of knowing my sins are forgiven, that Jesus is staying with me until the day that I die. If you're here this morning and you want to know Christ, then I'm going to invite you this morning to call out to Him.